Hi, welcome to the Sales Strategies for Christian Coaches podcast. I'm Justin Janowski, your host, and I started my Christian coaching business, Faith to Influence, in December of 2018, just hoping to make it. I was hoping to earn $60,000 that first year, and God provided beyond what I could have ever imagined. I collected over $250,000 and have been able to build a business that I love, that honors my family and God and my clients, and that's what I help people with now. I help other coaches optimize their business plans, their signature offers, and their high integrity sales strategies so that they can scale their income and scale their impact. And today I have a very special guest for the podcast. Mr. Tom Ziglar is here. And many of you are like, oh, Ziglar, I know Ziglar. Well, you probably do because his dad, Zig Ziglar, is one of the greatest speakers of all time. I was telling our group this week, Tom, in sales school and Christian Coaches Academy, I said, Jesus, I'd put Jesus above Zig Ziglar, but Zig might be second. He's certainly in the top 5 in most influential speakers of all time. Tom's dad, Zig, influenced over 250 million people through his speaking, his training, his coaching. And Tom has carried on his legacy in such a beautiful and amazing way. I've gotten to know him over the last few months, and he is one of the most humble leaders I've met, which blows me away with the success that he's had. He's generous. He's kind. He's authentic. I got to go to his conference last week, and they genuinely are like family in the Ziglar coaches community. They love each other. They take care of each other so well. And Tom has some of the most amazing wisdom to share for coaches, business leaders, and people in general. He's become a great friend of mine, and he's going to be speaking at the Christian Coaches Academy Live Conference June 18th through 20th. So if you're listening to this and you haven't signed up yet, you need to sign up and join us. Tom, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this podcast and speak with us next month.
Justin, what an honor and a pleasure to be here. We had some fun in Dallas just a few days ago, and I'm looking forward to coming to your hometown and meeting even more great people. So thanks for having me, and I'm excited about that.
It's my pleasure. I know a lot of our listeners already know you. They follow you. Some of them are Ziglar coaches and they love the work that you're doing. But if someone hasn't heard the Ziglar brand in a little while and they're curious to catch up on, like, what are you guys working on? What are you guys doing these days? Can you just kind of catch us up on the story of what Ziglar cares about these days?
You bet. And so when you say Zig Ziglar impacted 250 million people, that's a lot of people. And he did that through the stage, his books, his downloads. I think our podcast has like 100 million downloads since we started. I mean, it's just crazy. And it was really all in the personal development and success. And I call it the balanced life category. We got our roots in sales. All of Dad's early speaking was around sales and sales training and development. And then he realized that, with you could have all the sales skills, but if you don't have the belief and the mindset and the balanced life, you're going to be on a roller coaster. I mean, it's just a hard ride. And so Dad passed away 13 years ago now almost. And so we had to reinvent the brand. Well, that's like, wow, because we have this incredible legacy of people who recognize who we are. But Zig Ziglar is the only one who can be Zig Ziglar. So we have really gotten laser focused on taking all of that information and working with coaches and speakers and trainers to equip them to go out and deliver that message. So now I say we're a coaching organization, but we're still in the personal development space because probably the most important thing you can do as an individual is learn how to coach yourself. Use the same skills, the same questions, the same vision, all the things that a coach really knows to do. Use it on yourself. Be your own accountability partner. Of course, every coach needs a coach, so you got to go there too. And so that's what we've done. And then a couple of years ago, our corporate training blew up again, meaning we're out there doing leadership training all over the world. But it's all around equipping leaders how to coach their direct reports. So again, the theme is coaching. That's what we do. And it's really simple. There's a Zig Ziglar quote that's not that famous, but it's one of my favorite quotes of Dad. And this is what he said. He said, never give a promise without a plan. And so when you think of a coach, what does a coach do? A coach comes in, asks the questions, and it kind of unleashes the hope and the promise and the calling and the dreams and the goals that an individual has, right? And And so people start to get inspired because their whole life, all they've been told is what they can't do. And all of a sudden the coach is saying, this is what you can do. Well, that's the promise. Well, in most situations, you go to an event, you get the promise, and then you leave. And what do? Well,
That's right.
I call it getting seminared. Getting seminared means that over the next week or so, it's going to wear off. It's like you're on this high, you got this stuff, and then life happens. And so, what is a plan? Well, the plan is the step by step, day by day, week by week, month by month implementation strategy that coaches do. And so, coaches get to walk out the plan with people. And there is no more powerful, more effective way to have long term change in the right direction than engaging a coach. And so, what we do at Ziglar is we equip and support coaches to go out and be that agent that changes that. And so that's where we are at Ziglar right now. That's what we do. We still work in the corporate world and we still work with speakers and trainers. But to me, being excellent at that, if you don't stick around for the plan, then you're missing the most fun part
That's
and the
right.
best part and the life-changing part. And that's what coaches do.
I love that. And like the cool thing here for our listeners to recognize is you mentioned it, 100 million downloads of your podcast. You guys have 7 million people following you on Facebook. You've got so much influence. You do speak all over the world, and you could probably work with any group of people solving any kind of problem. And it says a lot about the coaching industry that you felt like that was the audience to serve. And I'm guessing part of it is because that when we serve the coaches, the ripples of impact through them is so significant. If people who are listening to this don't know it, the Ziglar brand has amazing certification for coaches and has recently come out with a sales, marketing, and enrollment mastermind that I got to hear about as I was speaking with your group last week. That's really exciting. You're doing some cool things in the AI space. Talk to us a little bit about Zig AI. We were just talking about it before we got started, and I just want to share this idea and some of the things that you think about where the world is going with AI.
Yeah. So it goes back to the year 2000, and we launched a program called Zig on Demand. And it was a database driven program. We took like 100 hours of audio. We broke it down into 3 to 5 minute chunks. And then we had searchable words associated with each chunk so that if you went onto the website and you logged in to Zig on Demand, you could say, Zig, I had this objection in my sales call. What would Zig's, what's the answer? And so it would keyword it, and then all of a sudden these little audio clips would pop up of Zig answering that question in the midst of a talk. Now the problem is we broke the internet. We had this great technology, but people didn't have the bandwidth to actually listen to the audio. So that goes away. 4 years ago, being the nerd that I am, I start really getting into AI and what that's doing. I wrote about it even before ChatGPT came out and took the world by storm. And then I said, gosh, it sure would be cool to have an AI that was just the only access or resource was all of Zig's content. So we about a year ago, well, not even a year ago, 8 months ago, we partnered with a company called EvolveWell, and they have an amazing coaching platform for coaches, how to support your coaching clients. And so we're using that to support all of our coaches. And I said, I need Zig AI. And they said, what's that? And I told them, hey, I want to take all of Dad's material and I want to put it into a protected silo. I want to put some of my material, some of our coaching material in there, because when you go to ChatGPT or Gronk or Claude or any of them, they're just accessing public domain content, which is biased, which isn't always accurate. And so your answers, if you're a coach, you got to be responsible for bringing the truth, right? Especially if you're a Christian coach. I mean, that's like forefront in our mind. We're not going to take anybody down a path that's not in alignment with the truth. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, we can do that. We're working on something similar. And so they adapted what they were doing. We sent over like 15 different manuscripts, like 50 hours of transcribed audio, all this material. We loaded it in. And so what it does is it uses the learning language model of ChatGPT, the logic of how do you build coaching questions, how do you build a training program, all that stuff. But where it's getting the content from is the Ziglar content.
Yeah.
And so what happens now is we've got our coaches and they're coaching a client, and the client says, I'm really struggling with this, or there's somebody on my team, I don't know how to inspire them, or I want to communicate to my 8-year-old this same 7-step goal setting process that Zig teaches, but how do I do that for an 8-year-old? And so you can, like, real time, we're with our clients and we type in that query into Zig AI, and instantly, like within 1 second, you get this response from a coach's viewpoint of how to guide that person to do that. And so it lays it out step by step. It puts Zig quotes in there. It puts Bible verses in there. It and like the 8-year-old example, it wrote the 7-step goal setting program in the language of an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So
You
that
shared this at the conference, by the way. It was fascinating.
so
So cool.
yeah, so that client,
Yeah.
we're giving them like a script that they can go talk to their 8-year-old.
Amazing.
How impactful is that? And by the way, it was funny because it changed the name of goal setting. It changed the title of that to how to get what you want.
How to
Because,
get what you want.
because an 8-year-old doesn't know what goal setting is, but they do know how to get what they want.
That's right.
So it's just a tool. At the end of the day, for all the coaches who are like, well, what is AI going to do and how is it an advantage? AI does two things for you. It allows you to save time
Mhm.
when you're serving your clients, and it allows you to go deeper with your clients,
That's right.
because AI will never have wisdom and it will never build a relationship. And
Right.
so what does that mean? What do you do that extra? What do you use that extra time for? Calling and touching base with more prospects and clients so you
Mhm.
can build your practice. That's what AI really does. But we've made it real easy for our coaches to
Yes.
dig
So
into it.
here's what I really respect about you, Tom, as I've gotten to know you more is you're a self-proclaimed nerd. Like, you like to study, you like to learn new things. You're incredibly innovative. You and the Ziglar community are doing so many cool, like, forward-thinking things. And then also, when I'm with you and when you're teaching, I found that you take things that are heavy and complex and you simplify them to the easiest way forward. And so, like, that combination is so interesting. I know when people get to meet you at our conference, they're going to get some innovative ideas and some forward thinking things that are going to be really helpful for them. But then you've also got this gift for simplification, and they're going to get that too. And so I want to ask this: if a coach is listening to this, and let's say they're new, they're somewhere between like $0 and $50,000 in annual revenue, they're just getting started, what are one or two or three things that you'd recommend that they do that are simple, that can make a difference in how they build their business?
Yeah. So we call it the coach's journey, and there's 4 stages in that. And so from day one, you need to be aware of these stages. The first one is what we call the learn stage. You got to learn how to coach. You got to learn the process. You got to learn the questions to ask. And too many people are getting ready, right? They
Mhm.
just get stuck in that stage. And so while you're in that stage, you need to find other coaches or a community where you can practice those skills, where you can role play. We're in great coaches, they're practicing their coaching questions on their kids, their spouse, the waitress, the waiter, the people on their team at the office, right? Because you're just getting into it, you're implementing it, you're learning it. And then when you go from learn and practice, then you got to get coaching. And so you need an environment where you can coach other coaches and they can coach you, and you can see how other coaches do it. And then we try to get our coaches in the game quickly with clients.
Mhm.
And we have a process for doing that. Then you got to scale, you got to build. And and what I've seen is that people wait far too long to start the building.
Yeah.
This is what I believe. If your motive is right, if your motive's right, God puts people in your path for a reason.
Mhm.
And so let's just to say that you're 2 weeks into it. and your confidence and your skill set, they're both low because you haven't learned a lot. And you're talking, and somebody says, "Well, what do you do now?" And you say, "Oh, I'm a coach." And they say, "God, I'm looking for a coach." That is a sign and a signal that you need to say, "Gosh, I'd love to just sit down with you and really ask you some questions to help
Mhm.
discover what it is that you want to accomplish." Because either I might be the one, or I might know somebody who is. And then you need to be, and so you never wait to do that. We tell
Mhm.
our coaches day one, that's what you got to do. And so what happens is a week later, somebody goes, "I got one." And so what do? We get on the phone with them. We help them through that process. We will join the call if they want us to. In other
Mhm.
words, you need to have other coaches you know and trust who are there to help you win. And so never wait. Never
So
wait. So
good.
you gotta do those 4 stages, but you never wait to start learning. And then in the book Choose to Win, I talk about IPAs,
Mhm.
income producing activities. And so, Justin, when you spoke at our conference and you said some of these IPAs are short term, meaning we're looking for
Mhm.
results in the next 30 days, and some of them are long term, and we're looking for results in the next 3 months to a year, or whatever you said.
Mhm.
That's exactly, you got to start those IPAs
Mhm.
right away. Um, the longer you wait, the harder it is. I've hired hundreds of salespeople in my life, through my career. And one of the questions I would ask our salespeople is this: how many of you would like to get a year's worth of experience in 3 months?
Yes.
Every new salesperson says, "Yes, that's me." And I would just simply say, make 4 times as many calls.
Mhm.
And that's really the truth. And so the quicker we get in the game doing these income producing activities and learning and growing and having real conversations, the faster we're going to scale. Now
So
you've got to
good.
learn the skills, and it's good to have a guide or somebody who's been there, but that's not really the holdup. The people are there, and the learning to do it is there. The holdup is picking up that 2,000 pound phone,
Mhm.
or having the courage to talk to somebody who said, "Gosh, I'm kind of struggling in a transition right now."
Yeah.
That's like God ordaining a conversation for you. If they say that and that's what you do, that's not a, Dad used to say that coincidence was just God's way of staying anonymous. Uh,
Yeah.
and so that's what you do. And then Dad taught this, and I believe it. If your product or service, if your coaching solves a problem, you have a moral responsibility to
Mhm.
share that.
Mm.
And that flips it.
So
It's it's like the sin of the desert. The sin of the desert is you're in the desert and somebody wanders into your camp. You're in the middle of nowhere and they're dying of thirst. And you know where the water is, but you don't tell them.
good. Mm.
And that's, metaphorically, that's what's going on in our world right now is people are wandering around dying of thirst. And as a coach, we got to have the courage and the moral responsibility to say, "Hey, here's where the water is,"
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
just know that. And one of our coaches says, "You know what? You've heard that saying that a, a bad day fishing is better than the best day at work.
Yeah.
If it's cold and rainy and all that stuff. Well, you got ice fishing where you are, but down here we don't." Uh, did you know that a bad coaching session is like better than the best day of regular work? Like,
Right.
I don't know what a bad coaching session is.
Right.
It's like we go in to serve and we ask great questions, and how that person receives it, that's between them and God.
Yeah.
Uh, and so why not give people the opportunity to find the water?
Yeah. We're so fortunate to get to do what we do. I might have written them down differently the way I receive them than the exact language you're using. But what I got from you in this is number one, let's develop that coaching skill set. So important. Number two, then we need to practice the coaching skill set. We need to get the repetitions. We need to drill the skill. Number three, we need to get those first clients and work with some clients. And then four is to build and scale. And what I wrote as number five as a reminder that's so important is start exclamation point. Like we just need to start, and we need to start with the IPAs that you talked about, that income producing activity. I love that language. I've already started sharing that with people since you told about it at the conference last week. What an amazing language for that. And if we just keep showing up in those income producing activities as soon as possible, and we consistently do just a little bit again and again and again, we're going to get great results. And wow, I love the analogy of the people walking in the desert and they're thirsty. And if we've got something that can solve the problem, we need to take that moral responsibility and offer the help.
Justin, at the conference, I gave a presentation on my health journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just make an analogy on that. 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I made a goal to work out every day.
Mm-hmm.
And for 6 months, I worked out every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I built a foundation, but I didn't lose any weight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't doing IPAs. I was doing foundation work, which is important, but I wasn't doing IPAs.
Yeah.
So then I meet Dr. Ovadia, read his book, and change my whole diet. And I lose 35 pounds in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are the simple IPAs that really do that. And then I stick for over a year at the weight. And I still had more weight to go, but I get stuck. I didn't change my eating. I didn't change my workout. I'm still working out every day, still eating great. And so I call my functional medicine doctor. And I'm like, we gotta do this. And he says, you should try a 36-hour fast once a week. And so I go there, and all of a sudden, I lose 20 pounds in less than 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm thinking, if I'd known it was this easy and this fast, I would have done these sooner.
Right.
Well, that's the journey of a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get started with mindset and meditation and practicing all these things and learning our stuff, and we do build a foundation, but we don't make any new clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start the income producing activities, and we go to the easy ones, right? The people we already know, and maybe a Facebook post, and maybe an email. And so we start losing weight. We start getting some clients, not what we eventually want, but we're getting some traction. And then we try something radical, a 36-hour fast. We actually pick up the phone and we call people.
That's right.
And then boom, accelerate. And so it's really, it's just the way life is. And so what happened is when I entered that 90 days, or when I said I'm going to fast 36 hours once a week. So what I would do is I would eat dinner, and then I wouldn't eat the whole next day, and then I would eat the following day. What did I do? I just got comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you know you're in the effective zone? You're uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to ask yourself a question as a sales professional getting people in a life-changing program. Do you want to be comfortable, or do you want to be effective?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
So good. And I think what you're alluding to is the biggest challenge I think so many coaches face is they're behaving, they're acting, they're doing something. They feel very busy and they even feel productive, but they're not getting results yet because they're not doing the right things. And I think that's a big thing that's going to come out of the conference, Christian Coaches Academy Live, is a prioritization of the right activity, the right actions. And to your point, when we just shift one thing, when we turn one dial, it can create a whole cascade of new results. And I think that that's what a lot of people need. And I just love you being straight and honest with people about what's important. And sometimes we have to do the thing that's a little bit hard. It's a little bit uncomfortable. And as we do it more and more, it gets easier and more comfortable, right?
Yep. And this is why it's such a challenge for people is
Mm-hmm.
your brain is wired this way. And it starts with the primary response of your brain is it analyzes the world to see, is that a threat to me?
Yeah.
Okay. So fear is the number one motivator. And so your brain is running on all these automatic habits. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever age you are, your brain is thinking, I've gotten you this far.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You've got enough calories in your body. And so anything that threatens the current status quo, fear pops in. Well,
Mhm.
what happens if they reject me? Because if they reject me, you're, well, then I'll lose my job and I'll lose my house and I'll be homeless and I'll die within 3 months, right? I
Mm.
mean, that's literally in an accelerated what happens. And so what you've got to do is you've got to stop that thought and say, what did my brain just tell me?
Mhm.
What's the evidence that that's actually true? And how does that thought help me become the person God created me to become?
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
And so you can train that habit right out of you've had a whole lifetime of building it, and it's a neurological thing. It's the way the brain
Mhm.
works, but you can fix that, right? You can
Yeah.
train it, and then you follow it up with and say, you know what? My greatest joy and satisfaction in the world is curiosity and learning
Mhm.
about people and how I can help them. And the truth is, the more people I help, the more secure my life becomes.
That's right.
Right? You just replace that. So that's why it's hard, and that's why the IPA approach is really simple.
Mhm.
Because if you feel uncomfortable and you trace it back to a fear of why you feel uncomfortable, now you know you're on the right track, and you just
Yeah.
change your mindset around it. But you do it.
Yeah.
The most successful coaches do it when they don't feel motivated to do it,
Mhm.
and that
Yeah.
is a truth.
Yeah. Well, and awareness is the first key to transformation. And so just having that awareness of where is this fear coming from? Why am I feeling this way? And how can I change it? Everyone who's listening to this, I'm so excited for you to get more of Tom very soon at our conference. I could talk to Tom for hours and hours. He's just a fascinating person. We spoke for a long time before we began this episode because it's just fun to talk with someone and be in the sphere of someone like Tom, who's an innovator, who makes things simple, who makes so much sense, who's a humble leader. And I want you to get more of Tom. You're going to have an opportunity to do that at Christian Coaches Academy Live. What I know is going to happen is you're going to get breakthroughs in your transformation. Tom's going to talk about harvesting your expectations, and it's a transformation of your mind. And then there's the behaviors that follow that. And what we're going to promise at Christian Coaches Academy Live is you're not going to get seminared. As Tom said earlier, you're not going to get seminared where you're just motivated for a few days and you go home the same, but we're going to make things really actionable. Tom's going to help us with that so that you can go home and be different and be the coach that God created you to be and build the business that you were meant to build. If you want to join us at the conference, go to www.f2itribe.com/CCA live. That's F, the number 2, tribe.com/CCA live. And if you want more from Tom, where can they connect with you beyond this podcast?
Yeah, you can go to Ziglar.com and learn all about Ziglar. The Zig Ziglar Facebook page has 7 million followers almost. So we'd like one more. And Justin, we just launched something new a little over a month ago called the Ziglar Coaching Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're putting lessons on there almost every day. And it's really designed to help coaches grow in mindset, in life coaching, and leadership coaching. So
Amazing.
go there. That's free. You'll learn more about what we do. All those little lessons are about 4 to 6 minutes long, so you can pop in at any time and then subscribe to it. We're
Yes.
trying to build a community there. If we, Mark Batterson, I'll close with this. Mark Batterson said that an inheritance is what we leave to someone, and a legacy is what we leave in someone.
Mm.
And as a coach and as a keeper of the Ziglar legacy, my role, my job is to transfer all the knowledge that I have into our coaches so that they can go and share that with the world so they can change lives
Mm.
because that's legacy. And when a coach comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm coaching somebody," they took what I taught them and they went and taught their child or with the coworker. To me, that's legacy. That's the ripple effect, that ripples through eternity. And so that's why I do what we do. That's why you need to come and see us. What, not even a month, is it? Or about
It's
a month?
crazy. June 18th through 20th in
Yeah.
Milwaukee. It's just around the corner. Come shake Tom's hand in person and get to hear from him, and let's learn and grow together and let's live that legacy. Thank you, Mr. Tom Ziglar, for being with us today. God bless you all. See you next week, and hopefully see you at the conference soon.